All right, good morning, everyone. So welcome to the Philosophy, Politics, and Economics panel for this is the new cross-disciplinary program, even though this program is not, PPE program is not convenient. Let me just quickly introduce the people who are here. So I'm Prof. Loy. I'm actually from philosophy, but I'm one of the committee members for PPE. And then we have Prof. Liu. Perhaps you want to say one thing about yourself? Yeah.
Morning, everyone. Well, I'm one of the founder members of the PPE program, along with Loy, and I'm the current rep in political science for the program as well. Thank you all for coming.
Yeah, so there are supposed to be 3 of us, but Prof. Channy Chun is helping out with the data science and economics program as well, so she can't join us today. And then we have 2 of your seniors, 2 of your senpais, okay, be nice to them, huh? So we have Jing. Go ahead.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm a year 3 PPE student and I'm specializing in political science. But for you guys, when you guys are coming to CHS, you guys will no longer have these specializations going about. So it will be just purely PPE. And yep, as I put in my profile, I am one of the co-founders of the PPE Club. As you guys know, it's brand new, so it just started last year. Then we focus on building the community of PPE. Since we are so small, we only have like 68 people in total. So, oh well.
And Nelle, yeah.
Hello, I'm a year 2 PPE major. So I'm from the first batch of direct admissions and I'm actually the current vice president of the PPE club. So if you guys have any questions, you can just ask on the Q&A.
Yeah, Nelle and Jing and a whole bunch of other students have been really motivated and active in not only creating the club, but making sure that our students are well integrated. And then they bug me to help them do stuff as well. And of course, I also get them to do stuff for me. Okay, so that's the kind of community that you'll be joining if you come to PPE. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what we are trying to achieve with this program. And I'll begin with a little bit of background. So if you have come from the CHS talk, you will know that we now have a College of Humanities and Sciences, right? So one of the motivating reasons behind why NUS, FASS, and FOS are collaborating to offer this new and enhanced undergraduate experience is that we're looking ahead, and we know that the world of the future is not going to be simple, right? In fact, we're already living in it already. We are facing all kinds of complex issues in the world, complex issues that require people with deep knowledge, but people with different kinds of deep knowledge working together, and in fact also people with multiple expertise to be able to bring all these people together. Why? Because these problems are complex and therefore they require interdisciplinary solutions, right? That's one of the background motivations of why we launched the College of Humanities and Sciences. Not because we believe that everyone must come out, double train, triple train in, 2 or 3 different things. No, we want to make sure that everyone has that baseline degree of interdisciplinarity, so that even if you're a deep specialist, you know how to work with people from other specializations. And of course, we do want to train some people who are really like doubles and triples. Okay, and PPE is very much at home within this larger milieu, even though we existed before the launch of CHS. Right now, I just give you one very simple example of what I mean by a complex problem that requires interdisciplinary solution. Everybody's talking about social inequality in Singapore and elsewhere in the world. You must have heard about this. Every time I go on social media, all my friends are talking about it, right? But any kind of person who sits down and think about this issue, sooner or later, you're going to realize that this is really not a simple matter at all, right? There are economic and political and philosophical dimensions. Just to name the obvious ones, since we are PPE, I'm going to focus more on these things. But actually, there are many, many dimensions, right? What on earth is inequality? How do you measure it? What are the equilibrium analysis and dynamic analysis of this phenomenon in the first place, right? Where are the quantifiable aspects? What is the thing that is being unequal to what? How do you sort of put a finger on it and say that I got a data to show that this is what it is? It's not just a feeling. It's not just anecdote, right? Every kind of inequality, whether it's social or political or economic, and if it's economic, are we talking about income? Are we talking about wealth? What are we talking about? All these things all have to matter. They all take place within political and legal context. They don't just appear in the middle of nowhere. It's not like in a vacuum of space, there is inequality. Whatever that inequality is not the one that we are concerned about. The kind of inequality that we're talking about here is inequality that takes place within political and legal context, and they're bounded by political and legal context. You might even say that in some cases, they are exacerbated by political and legal context. right? And if you want to tackle these sort of things, if you want to create policies, if you want to understand how the world works such that these things arise and such that you can have better solutions, you need to understand those political and legal contexts. What are the fundamental laws that govern a country? How could it be that, or how might it be that they work out in such a way that it tends to privilege certain groups of people or disadvantage certain groups of people? What's the same thing with the political processes, right? Now, of course, they do that because they influence the way individuals behave. Whether you want to say that it's a rational choice or not, that doesn't matter. It's just a way to model what they're doing. And therefore, any attempt to relate to them, any attempt to sort of correct these problems through policy will have to require us to understand both rational individual choice, but also all the dynamics of social choice very well, and all the paradoxes that come out of it, all the difficulties that come out of it if you have studied these things, right? And of course, we are doing this at all. Why do we care about social inequality? Because we think that there are genuine ethical issues concerned, right? We think that it's not the done thing, ethically speaking, that there are members of our society who are, as it were, disadvantaged. We want to be able to do things that will help people. So just think about that. I talked through what we call social inequality, right? But there are so many different dimensions, and they all get analyzed from different angles, right? And then you see that in order for you to really get deep into understanding the thing and to be able to talk sensibly about the kind of proposed solutions to it, you do have to have a little bit of training. You do have to have enough training, even not just a little bit of training, in a variety of different disciplines. And here in particular, economics, political science, and definitely moral philosophy, right? Moral and political philosophy. Okay. Now, a little bit of background. So PPE was jointly established, as Prof. Luke mentioned just now. The two of us, together with Prof. Chieh, we were the founding people who created this. Back in 2018, it was established by the 3 departments. And of course, with the launching of CHS, we became one of the inaugural XDPs, one of the inaugural cross-disciplinary programs. But of course, it was easy for us to become an XDP because, in a sense, we were an XDP before XDPs existed. We have always been a cross-disciplinary program. And our goal in creating this program really is to train a new generation of broad-minded analysts and policy formulators that is able to approach social and political issues from more than one disciplinary angle and to bring these insights together. What we try to achieve in this program, we want to create the kind of program where students learn, right, a curated suite of insights and tools from the three very established disciplines of the humanities and social sciences: philosophy, political science, and economics, so that they are able to examine social and political phenomena from these 3 complementary angles. And through the process, they are given the opportunity for what we might call intellectual cross-fertilization. There's another fancy word, intellectual arbitrage, that I sometimes hear. But these are just very fancy ways of saying that we want it to be such that 1 + 1 is not just equals to 2 here. We want it to be such that because of this exposure to this special suite, selected suite, curated suite of multi-purpose tools from all 3 disciplines, you see new things, you discover new things, you learn new things about the world, the social and political world. I don't know, Luke, does it sound like this is what we are doing, right? I mean, this is what we are trying to achieve. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I totally second the point about training people in multidisciplinary perspective. You're talking about the complex problems the world has. One of the sources of many of our problems is that I think we're not always aware enough about our own standpoints in addressing things to begin with, and PPE, I think, has the great virtue of making you aware of your own frameworks, your own standpoints, your own assumptions. That's one of the great things about it to me. I think I'm probably speaking for you here. There's a question about, philosophy seems very abstract and unfamiliar. Unfamiliar, yes, if you haven't done it for A-level, but not really abstract, because you're asking questions about what do we mean. You talked about inequality. The philosophy part is just this kind of trying to get to the bottom of what we mean by our concepts a lot of the time. What is inequality? What does economic growth entail? These sorts of conceptual, definitional questions. So yeah, I'm totally on board with your description of our major.
I'm glad you're still with me, Luke. No, Luke and I go back a number of years already. We've been doing a lot of things together. Yeah, so yeah, we really do believe in this. This is what we are trying to make happen. And we need the students to understand that this is what we're trying to happen. As probably also mentioned, it may seem very abstract, some of these things, but no, we'll take your hand and we'll make sure that we give you that kind of appropriate training, right? And it's not just any old corner of the trade disciplines, as you will see in a moment. That when I say that it's a curated suite of specific insights and tools from the trade disciplines, I do mean that, okay? Let me continue first, right? So this is the so-called curriculum structure. You can find it online on the CHS PPE website, so I won't go through all the details. What you want to notice is that, yes, you will still have to do CHS common curriculum. However, a part of it, in fact, is waived because we are already a cross-disciplinary program. So in a sense, we are going to give you a kind of an interdisciplinary foundation already. So some parts of it is waived. Specifically integrated social science and integrated humanities. However, we do want you to have that basic sort of introduction to scientific inquiry, because that's kind of important. You live in a world that is increasingly technology driven. You have to understand things, right? Even if you're a PPE person. Okay, so this is the basic curriculum structure. But what I want to show you is how it looks like graphically, right? So regular CHS is, as you can see, is about 1/3 common curriculum, just over 1/3 the primary major, the baseline major, and then another 1/3 is the unrestricted electives. And if you came from the previous talk, you know that there are different ways to use the unrestricted electives. You can double down and become a deep specialist in that one major, or you can fill it with a second major, or you can fill it with minors and just other modules as well. What about XDP? What about XDP PPE? How does it look? Well, you can see from the chart below. So part of common curriculum is now, in a sense, absorbed by the PPE program. Why? Because we do have our own integrated modules anyway, our own special PPE integrated modules, right? That's the 18% there. The PPE major is not small, because after all, this overall size of XDP is supposed to approximate, conceptually speaking at least, like a double major, okay? But we still managed to squeeze out 15% of unrestricted electives for you so that you can do your own thing, okay? And yes, PPE will be compatible with USP and other residential colleges without overloading, right? This was a commitment that I made all the way from the beginning. I've always wanted to make sure that PPE is compatible with at least one other major special opportunity you have in campus. I think, Jing, you were from CAPS, right? You're from one of the RCs, right? Yeah.
Yep. So I'm from a residential college, the College of 𝗚𝗏𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗀, and it's perfectly fine. In fact, much of what I learned in PPE is very compatible with what I learned in CAP as well. So
that's right. Then we have a whole bunch of PPE USP students, and so we intend to make this fully compatible. Okay. Now, again, please don't read all the small words. This is all online actually. So what are some of the interdisciplinary, the integrated modules we have created? Just to give you a sense of it, we have more intro level ones. We have hardcore PPE type training, decision theory and social choice. We also have kind of like broad topics like the ethics and politics of nudging. This is a 4th year seminar. Welfare and distribution is another one, right? And a new one that's created, political economy of money. So these are some of the PPE modules, special PPE modules that we have created in the integrated layer. There will be others that will be added in the future, right? We're always trying to look for new things to do and to improve the program. Okay, so let me talk about admissions. There are 2 different ways to get into PPE. The first way is the direct entry. So if you want to get in at direct entry, you need to, for instance, for those of you who are applying for entry to 2021 cohort, right, you need to do 2 things. You need to select philosophy, politics, and economics in the NUS admissions portal. Look for that, okay? And then you also need to submit your application essay and an accompanying personal statement in the form of a short video at our direct entry portal. Now, all the links are actually on the PPE website, so it's easier to go straight to the PPE website and look at the instructions there. Okay, so this is the first way to enter. The second way to enter is that you can transfer into the PPE program from the end of your 2nd semester in CHS. So that means that this is for people who are already CHS students. If you do really well, if you excel, in your 1st year, there is still a chance for you to transfer it. Okay, people will always ask me, is either path easier or harder? I say, no, neither of them are meant to be easy. I'll just put it that way. Okay, they are both meant to be selective of students who have the aptitude and their strong interest to do this sort of thing. If not, then it's okay. There are many things to do. This is not the only thing you can do in NUS. Okay, the indicative grade profile for the 2020 direct entry cohort was 𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶 at both the 90th and the 10th percentile, right? But I don't just look at grades. I really do want to see your essay, and now we also want to see, a brief sort of like. The reason is because if we interview you, it's really a huge resource commitment. We want to make sure that we give you the chance to sort of curate your own video, so you don't have to worry about I know what if I can't perform during the interview. So we're being nice in a sense, right? Okay, look, I hope that we have been reading essays over the last few years for this admission process. We read so many essays every year. Yeah.
Well, it's very important that we get a feel for your writing and where you're at with your ability to put concepts together. But we do feel that adding the video gives us an extra dimension. We're facing hundreds of applicants, and on paper, pretty much everyone is very strong.
Yeah.
And we're trying to give people an extra way to differentiate themselves, because even with the essay, it can sometimes be very hard to separate very good candidates. Places are limited, so this is another way in which you can distinguish yourself and show your suitability for the program, we hope. Yeah,
so even though in a sense spaces are limited in a sense, right? But actually, Prof. Liu and I and Prof. Chieh, we don't normally think in terms of quotas. We just don't. That's not the way we do it. We have always thought in terms of quality. The people we want to make offers to, we want to make sure that they are the kind of students who we feel confident that they can handle this, they won't crash and burn, and that they will do us proud. That's what we're looking for. And we don't worry too much about the numbers. So far, the numbers have worked. No one has come back to DB with a stick yet.
Oh yeah, no, we can, in the sense, we can take the students we want to take, indeed.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Jing Wei came in through the so-called second intake, because in his cohort there wasn't a first intake, there wasn't a direct intake yet, right? And Nelle came in through direct entry, right? So you have any quick experience, any advice for students?
I think I will go first. For people who are trying to get into the year 2 admission program, you have to, in a way, it will be quite rigorous for you, because the 3 introductory modules for philosophy, politics, and economics are not really the easiest modules in the house. But if you guys spread out evenly across both semesters, you guys definitely will be able to do it. Yeah.
And we haven't fully decided whether we will use all 3, because with the new CHS curriculum, we may actually have to reject that a bit. We'll find a way to do it. Don't worry about it, right? And Nelle came in through the direct entry, right? So we want to be fair to both groups. Yeah, Nelle, please. Yeah.
So for me, I would say like general advice is just don't stress too much on the essay. Just if you want, you can show off your writing skills a bit, but most importantly, you should look at, maybe do some just do some general research on what on the different perspectives of PPE. Just apply it as most. I think like Prof. Loy and like the rest of the profs on the panel, they probably just want to see how you apply these different lens and come up with this essay that sort of analyzes these world issues from a multidisciplinary perspective. Interdisciplinary perspective would be even better even. Yeah. So just don't stress too much on the essay. Just chill, just finish it and just submit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very good advice. We're not looking for perfection. Obviously, you don't actually know these disciplines to the degree that we hope to teach you yet, because otherwise, why are you coming to us, right? So we want to make sure that you come in and we are going to train you. We're not looking for actual deep knowledge. We're looking for aptitude. We're looking for potential. We're looking for people who will show that kind of passion and interest more than anything else, right? At least that's the way I think about it. I'm sure Prof. Liu is very similar as well.
I agree. As you say, we don't expect people to be the finished article on day one at all. We're looking for suitability. That's what we're trying to judge.
Yeah, suitability is actually the right word, because we really don't want you to suffer coming here to discover that this is not what you thought it is. Okay. All right. A few additional remarks. I want to remind everyone, PPE is not the only way to study social and political phenomenon. That's of course not, right? You can just regular major philosophy or pol science or economics, right? It's not even the only multi or interdisciplinary to do so, right? If you combine sociology and psychology, you do get to study social political phenomena too. So you have to sort of come to a decision that this particular package is the one I want, because I am kind of interested in philosophy, politics, and economics. And I mean those 3 particular things, right? So in a sense, your interest is actually important. You must be ready to engage with all 3. Jing Wei mentioned just now that we no longer have the specialization. Because of the XDP structure, we now have the curriculum space to make sure that all PPE students have that level of training in all three. Okay, because under the old major structure, we don't actually have the same amount of space, right? So the funny thing is that now I can give you the same degree of training as so-called specialization levels for all three of them, which is fantastic. But it really does mean that I want students who are ready to deal with economics, including the math there, ready to deal with political concepts, political analysis, and ready to do a bit of philosophy. Now, you don't have to do, we don't expect you to do all bits of philosophy or all bits of economics and all bits of every bit of political science. Of course not, right? It's that particular layer that is of interest to us. And there's a lot of free choice too. We have a lot of things that where we can allow you to have your own electives even within those three spaces, right? But you have to be sufficiently interested. So that's something that you need to be aware of, right? So choice between single disciplinary major versus PPE versus other multidisciplinary majors like global studies and so on and so forth. I think that this is really down to personal choice. I would say that if your interest is in that one subject, you really want to sort of get deep into metaphysics or philosophy or language, then just do philosophy, right? PPE is kind of weird for that, right? If you want to become a political scientist, then you should do political science, right? PPE will be kind of weird for that as well, right? PPE is slightly more world engaged in a certain sense, but it's still quite theoretical. We expect to train interdisciplinary thinkers in a certain sense. That's our aim, right? Our aim is not just to train practitioners, but people who are able to bring these ideas together. But we are not training philosophers or political scientists or economists. We are training PPE types. Okay. Anything to add to that, Luke? I'm not sure I'm making sense actually.
No, I suppose you can think of it as philosophy and economics and political science as being traditional academic disciplines which have a very wide range of potential future career paths. PPE has tended to attract historically in other places, Oxford's a great example, people who are interested in some kind of public careers, be it civil service, government, politics, what have you. So there's a little bit more of an orientation to practice there. I think that's fair. Yeah. And we're trying to balance that slightly more perhaps vocational / professional angle with the traditional academic side of things. It's not that economics and political science and philosophy are useless in any sense. It's just that they perhaps don't point as directly to a career involved with matters of public concern, shall we say.
Not all of our students are necessarily targeting a public service job.
No, of course not.
Many of our students, in fact, are very keen on private sector jobs and all kinds of, in fact, entrepreneurs as well. I think we may end up producing one artist, but we will see about it first.
Well, one thing to say here actually is we don't have a lot of experience yet of where our students are actually going to go. I mean, I was talking about the historical bias of PPE programs like the famous one at Oxford, but of course, Loy's quite right about, we're not just expecting you to go into civil service or politics. That's not the case. We still think of PPE as very open in where it might lead you. But we don't have a lot of data yet about where our PPE program is going to be placing people, just because I think we graduate our first cohort this year, is it?
No, next year.
Next year. So yeah, we can't tell you about placement data yet because we don't have any. What we are confident about is that our students will be well placed because FASS students and NUS students are generally, I've been at NUS quite a long time now, about 14 years, and long-term unemployment is not a problem for most of our graduates. I can't think of a single case amongst students I've taught in political science where somebody's ended up jobless because they've done a political science degree. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So I would say,
of course, we often have every few cohorts there will be one student who insists on not doing a proper job because he or she wants to become an artist. There's always that one.
Sure, but hey, be an artist,
yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So yeah, that segues very nicely into the employment prospects thing, right? Yes, we do. Kind of, the program is we know that given the kind of students who come in, we do want to give preparation to our graduates for positions in public institutions, private corporations, especially relating to policy and strategy. But these are things that train your thinking ability, your ability to sort of analyze the world, understand it, propose solutions. That occurs in many, many different contexts. So let's be clear about that, right? I know that some of the people that some of our actual students, current students, they are thinking of things. They are not just public, sort of like civil service or government, or for the matter private, the usual private corporations. I don't know whether Jingwei and Nell are your sort of stereotypical PPE people who are going to be.
As in, for me, I'm planning to go into civil service or international governmental organizations. So I think I fall into that gap of like people who are seeking public service related jobs. But that just depends on me. It's my passion. And I know people who are very much, like Prof. Loy say, involved in wanting to go into like Unilever and things like that. So
yeah, there's one who's working in a media company. He's like, if we play our cards right, maybe we'll produce a Golden Horse Award win, another one of those. You know which one I'm talking about. Now, what about you?
For me also, like Jingwei, I'm sort of gearing up towards a civil service, but also like even within the civil service there are so many different ministries, right? And also I have other friends who are yes, the media director one is very, very promising, up and coming, I think. And also there are a lot of my friends in PP that are actually looking to go into consulting and banking. So I thought that was quite interesting. And then after that, you have the other side of the spectrum who is like really planning to go into academia. So we have one up and coming philosopher, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, I know that also.
Yes, and I think you know who it is, Prof. Loy.
Yeah, of course.
So in PP, I think it's like generally it's a stepping stone to whichever career that you want. Yeah, as long as you're not going for something like engineering that is highly technical.
And you're in the wrong place. Go and do
it.
Okay.
Wrong faculty lah, that one. Yeah, but I think PP in general, like it just gives you a very broad spectrum of choices. So anything from civil service, that means public sector, to private sector, to like coming back and like working in a university. Yeah, I think it covers almost all the bases.
Yeah, just to be clear, they are broad in the sense that there are many choices. It's not broad in the sense that the training is just broad. No, the training is pretty targeted actually. It can go quite deep and quite hard hitting. So I want to make sure that you understand that you're not a specialist in one thing. We expect you to be a specialist in that specific slice of things that come from the three disciplines. We want you to go quite deep in that, okay? And yes, we do take our career preparation very seriously, but it's not just about FASS. No, it's not just about XDP, but it's just CHS and FASS in general, right? All the usual career preparation modalities and opportunities will be available to you, even FASS 2.0 industry track. And we just even created a new honors thesis replacement called the Research Internship Project, where you can, it counts as an honors thesis replacement, but instead of doing the traditional kind of academic thesis, you do a research internship, and then you do a paper that is partly based on that, right? So we are quite, keen on making sure that our students have all these opportunities to connect with industry, connect with ministries and governments, and so on and so forth, okay, for the career preparation, okay? Yeah, last few slides already. Our students, as I said, are very motivated. We love them, okay? We make them do stuff for us, and they make us do stuff for them. These people are, I tell you a funny story. I won't say which one is it. One day, 11 p.m., my phone beeps, I look at it. Prof. Loy, let's invite this person to come and give a talk. It's like, it's 11 p.m. You know which one who this guy is. Okay, so they are very motivated. They created this thing called the PPE Club. Right, so if you join us, the club has been very active. They're always trying to reach out to students, and even they've been helping us to do a lot of prospective student outreach as well. So they have an Instagram account. Go and see them in action. Okay, and then finally, I'll just point everyone to all the usual information sources that we have. We have a website. That's the CHS, under CHS, right? I think even if you skip the word programs, you just /PPE at the end, I think you will go there as well. But either way will work. And the PPE Club has also created a Telegram group just for prospective students. They had this last year, and they're continuing to do this. So if you have questions, feel free to go there and ask questions, and the seniors in the program will answer. I might drop by as well, but I don't know whether I dare to step into another one of these Telegram groups. Should I go there? No. Are you telling me not to go, Jing-Wei? No, is that the
No,
idea?
I'm saying that given your busy schedule, it's a bit hard for you to answer the amount of questions that will be going on the group as well. So, yeah.
But anyway, they will surface the ones that they don't know how to answer to people like myself and Prof. Luke and Prof. Chieh. So don't worry about it. So if you have questions, go to the Telegram group. They also have an email address, askppe. So as you can see, these are very motivated seniors you have. Huh? I'm looking at you, the two of you, okay? And who have taken over already, right? Now it's Josh and it's still Josh is from your batch, what am I saying? Yeah, but the next group haven't settled yet. Yeah, anyway, so all these opportunities are there. So okay, so that's the end of my presentation, right? So let's take some questions. Are there a bunch of questions? Maybe Jing-Wei and Nelle, you can help curate the obvious ones that you think probably and I should answer, and then there are some that you can answer as well. Yeah, I can look at it also. Or how is maybe I'll answer the first one. How is the CHS PPE different from year NUS PPE? So this is similar to something that came out in the last session. The first thing you need to understand is that the differences may not always be at the sort of program level or the major level, right? The people teaching PPE in year NUS, they're our friends. Look and I, they are actually our friends. Okay. Okay. So and sometimes we go for lunch together and all that kind of stuff, right? So I fully trust them to deliver good quality education, because otherwise, what are they doing there? Why did UNUS hire them? Okay, I'll just say that first. Okay, but at the end of the day, UNUS is a small liberal arts college that takes in 250 students every year. We are a giant university that takes in what, 30,000 students every year. CHS alone will take in 2,100 students, 2,200 students, right, in this year. Okay, so the context is very different. We have levels of resourcing that is not the same as what they have. We have range of professors you get to meet, the range of people you get to meet is not the same, right? Now, what's the trade-off? The trade-off, let's use the economics concept, it's a trade-off, right? If you want small, intimate, close-in kind of a context, then probably you want to go to a small liberal arts college. Right? What's the sort of loss? You don't have access to the same level of resourcing. You don't have access to the same range of people. That's what I mean by resourcing, right? On our side, the downside, of course, will be it's bigger, it's more anonymous. Some of the classes are bigger, even though the tutorials are always less than 25 and below. But at the same time, you really do see the range that is not the same scale. Okay, if you want a bit of the best of both worlds, then what my advice to you will be join a large research university at NUS as a student, but join one of our residential colleges. Then yes, then you get a bit of a best of both worlds. Okay. Now, in terms of the curriculum itself, the differences are not, I would say, tremendous, but I suspect that ours is a little bit more structured, okay, especially with the XDP structure. I'll just say that. But this is not necessarily something that is like an obvious, straightforward, like a huge difference or something like that. Right? I don't want to oversell the purely academic differences. I don't think these things they get swamped by the real difference between the two education experience, liberal arts college versus a university. Okay.
Prof, there is a similar question, but this one is, how does our NUSPP compare with SMU's PLE program?
Two very different universities, right? So wait, this is SMU you're talking about?
Yeah, SMU Politics, Law, and Economics.
Yeah. So while the first thing is they have law and we have philosophy, so ours is a little bit more traditional in a sense, right? There are more PP programs than PLE type programs in the world, so that's one thing. Secondly, SMU is a small boutique university. It's pretty high quality. I also have friends teaching there, okay, including even ex-colleagues teaching there, right? So again, these are people, I fully expect them to deliver high quality stuff. Otherwise, of course they'll still be my friends even if they can't do that. But that's not the point, right? But that's a small boutique university. We are a big research university. That difference trumps almost all the other differences. That's again something you just have to realize. Okay, Luke, do you have anything to add to that? Yeah.
Well, I think the inclusion of law gives it a fundamentally different slant, actually. Obviously, law is one of the great disciplines as well, but I suppose it isn't, unless you're interested in jurisprudence, it isn't sort of reflexive in the way that, say, philosophy is. I was talking earlier about self-conscious analysis of frameworks and as one of the things that we really emphasize in PPE. With studying law, you don't typically sort of turn your gaze back on yourself in quite the same way. You take the law as a given body of knowledge that's there to be mastered, that has concepts that need to be understood, and the ways in which they are applied need to be grasped, and so on. But it doesn't have that meta level of reflection built into it in quite the same way. So I think PLE is also a great combination, and in a sense very natural combination, particularly law and politics. There's usually a legal angle to every political and economic issue. So you know, this is also a good fit, but I don't think they're emphasizing the sort of self-conscious awareness of standpoints and how they fit together in quite the same way as we are, because of the inclusion of philosophy.
I won't be able to speak at length about the differences between NUS, SMU, you know, Yale NUS, when it comes to things like, you know, internship, exchange. We all have exchange programs. We all have access to tremendous amounts of you know, help to get our students internships and all that. So, you know, it's very hard to sort of, you know, I didn't. Maybe I should employ one of you to go and draw up a chart for me. One of these days, send one of you as a spy there somewhere, you know, help me draw up a chart. Okay, so can PP be taken as a second major? No, it cannot. Okay, like the other XDPs, we are not the only one. So data science and economics, Bachelor of Environmental Studies, PPE, we cannot be taken as a second major. Okay. Do you find that PPE is more of a taster or altruism? No. We don't expect you to just, okay, so the model is not, here are 3 tables in the buffet spread, you know, Chinese, Indian, and Malay. Just go and take whatever you want. That is not the way we do things, okay? We have very specific things that we are looking for from the 3 disciplines, and we expect you to go kind of go deep in them, okay? Now, yes, we still want to give you a choice to explore. Of course, we will still want to make sure that you get to explore. But there's a layer of things, and it's not a small layer, it's quite a big layer, where we expect you to be very good at these things, actually. And this is what I call the intersection, or that slice from the tree that hangs together as PPE. It's not just some random bit of philosophy or pol science or econs. It's a very specific slice, okay? If you study the curriculum chart, you can see for yourself. And here's one way to think about what that slice really amounts to. You can think of it as social scientifically informed political philosophy, or you can flip it around and say that it's kind of philosophically charged, you know, social science. You can think of it that way. That is the fundamental core of the PPE major. Okay. What kind of students are suited for PPE? Nelle.
Okay, so in my opinion, right, those who are suited for PPE are actually like, other than having the aptitude and the suitability, right? I think those who are suited for PPE are those who are motivated to work hard in general, because PPE is definitely not easy. Yeah, so being from the first batch of direct entry, I have to say, like, you know, the initial transition into university is already hard. And like, if you, let's say for example, if you don't have any background experience. For example, I didn't take economics in JC. So for me, coming into FASS in my year, but now it's CHS for you guys, and taking the economics course was definitely difficult. And I think this is another throwback to another question that I answered just now. So I think the kind of students who are suited for PPE is for those people who really want to work for what they want. Yeah, so in that sense that you guys will have to want to work hard, because the hard truth is that because of how our program is structured, we tend to end up competing with like 3 different bell curves, right? There's like philosophy, and then there's the pol science, and then there's the economics bell curve. So definitely you want to, I think, and you must feel passionate about it. You must feel passionate about the intersections between the 3 different disciplines. So if you are only, let's say, particularly passionate for political science, and you are super passionate about international relations, and you only want to study IR, then this is probably not the course for you. If you want to study like a specific like slice of the cookie. Yeah, so people who want PPE are really those people who really want to study in the intersection. So for example, there's like nudging, which is a very common topic in PPE, and also I think one up and coming one is political economy of money, and there's also another international political economy one. Yeah, So those people, like, you have to be very sure that you want to study the intersections, and you want this sort of and you appreciate sort of this interdisciplinary lens rather than just focusing on one. So there's no harm in focusing on one. It's just that you will be better suited for a single major or double major in another course rather than PPE.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, that's very important. Your interest really matters. Yeah, Jing, please. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm just going to tie this in with two other questions that we have. What is the work like in PPE, and also whether PPE teaches someone to think and reason out in different methods. So I wouldn't give the politically right answer as Nelle has provided, but I'll say that it's for people who can't really sit down well, and like if I stare at political science for too long, or I stare at econs for too long, my brain will start like frying. So that is me as a person. I'm someone who can't really sit down at one place because I know there are many, many dimensions to something. So like what Nelle mentioned, there are different perspectives that if you're someone that is trying to look for things in different perspectives, then yes, PPE is the major for you. As with like economics, it teaches you about the practicality of things. As with philosophy, it teaches you about like the greater meaning behind things, for instance, or like whether something is, how is something right in the first place? What is rightness about? So there are many different aspects of it, as you can see. And regarding the research that is being done as well, or like the essays that we do, of course, in the earlier levels, like in your level 1 and level 2 modules, it'll be strictly regarding the discipline alone. But however, as you go up and you realize that, hey, everything is actually intermingled together, and that's where PPE really, really shine. In the essays that you do, it will be an amalgamation of all three different disciplines. For example, one of my independent study modules that I'm doing, I'm actually doing a module on inequality. It ties in economic concepts such as the cliff effect. Is basically when someone earns a small amount of money, but the amount of government income that they get is significantly larger, etc. You guys can go and Google it, and you tie it in with politics about why policies are there and whether this is morally right. So it's an amalgamation of all three different things, and the work as you get higher will be more mingled together. It will get a bit messy, of course, but that is what real life issues are about. Yeah.
Let me quickly answer one technical question. So I think it's an international student said that the deadline for his or her application was 28th of February. But I did say PPE application is 19th of March. Actually, there's a very simple reason, all right? Because the NUS, the main bulk of the NUS entrance is through the A-levels, and if I remember correctly, according to the website, the closing date is 19th of March, right? So we're not going to do gist and jazz. We're basically going to wait until everyone is in, then we'll do all the essays at one shot. So you actually, even if your application closes early, it's okay. We probably don't get to see your essay until later anyway. However, you should do if you want us to look at it earlier, you should do it earlier. So there are a few students who are coming through so-called early admissions process. Then if they want us to consider them for PPE, then they need to make sure their application is in already, because otherwise I can't look at it. Right? I need both your NUS application and also your PPE application. Okay. Would you have information on the application to actual offer or undergraduates currently in PPE? Trade secret lah, cannot tell you all lah, please. Let's just say that yes, we receive all these applications. A big chunk of them we will read the essays. Not all of them, because we got to find a way to at least do a rough cut. So we do have to use your university scores to do a rough cut, right? We're not completely ungenerous in that cut, but it is still a cut. And then we'll read all those essays, which is still a lot of essays, like it's 3 digits, right? Then we'll make an offer to a lot of students as well, which is a fraction of the ones that we read essays. And then of those we make an offer, a fraction will accept, right? Why only a fraction will accept? Because PPE students, people who apply for PPE are often people who are also considering law. Maybe they're thinking of going overseas and a good university overseas. And so in a way they have options also. So not everybody that we make an offer to accepted. Happy to say that acceptance rate has been between 33 and 50% over the last few years, right? So beyond that, I'm not at liberty to say too much, because a lot of things. One of the reasons is because it may be misleading. Every year things do fluctuate quite a lot. Right? A lot depends on your own cohort's situation. That's why it's probably not a good idea to tell you. You may get all the wrong ideas. Okay, yeah. Anything else? Anything else that is good to answer? Nelle and Jing? Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question on how steep is the bell curve in PPE. So, like generally, I'm just going to go through the modules from introductory level to the higher level. So, introductory level, like if you guys can see on the screen, it's like GT 1029, PS 1101E, and EC 1101E. So, as stated on the screen, these are your gateway modules, or in our student lingo, we like to call them introductory modules. Yeah, so these are actually your modules. There are a lot of people taking these modules, so the bell curve is actually not that steep. Yeah, so it's like the more people that you have, the less crazy the bell curve gets, right? So it's more normalized. But when you get to the higher level modules, for example, like the PE 4Ks, P3Ks and P4Ks, that's when you really face your PPE peers, because like less people from other majors are incentivized to take these PPE specific modules as unrestricted electives. That means your UEs. So you tend to, of course, you now measure up against your PPE peers, right? And definitely, I think what I can say for the PPE majors that they are very motivated to get what they want and where they want. So definitely, like there is competition, but this is also true for any other major. Like if you take an econs major, you'll be facing the same kind of, like you'll be also at the 3K, 4K level, you'll be facing the same economics major. Yeah. So in my opinion, don't dwell too much on it. Just enjoy what you are studying, most importantly. Yeah.
Don't overthink the so-called bell curve. It doesn't actually work this way. The so-called bell curve is actually pretty generous, I'll just say it first, okay? And secondly, we don't apply it when the class size doesn't even hit a certain threshold, because statistically, it doesn't make sense, right? So there are all kinds of, we want to make sure that you get quality education, you assess properly, and that, these sort of things are worked out, right? I think sometimes focusing on, competition, how do I get ahead, doesn't really help you, right? I'll teach you a little bit of Taoism. Sometimes in order to get what you want, you actually don't want to want it. Okay, you want to sort of, never mind. Okay, I'll talk about wu-wei another time. Okay, so the question about how is economics different in the university, how is econs different in PPE compared to econs degree? What I'll say is that when we created this program, we deliberately made it a matter of an alliance between the three departments for a very specific reason. We want to make sure that the philosophy modules in it, the economics modules in it, and the pol science modules are real philosophy and econs and pol science modules. They are just the same modules. They are taken by philosophy majors and pol science majors and econs majors. We are not going to recreate some pretend philosophy, pretend econs modules. We actually want you to go through the grinder with the actual disciplinary departments themselves. Okay, so that's point number one. Okay, but of course, in terms of the PPE structure, we don't expect you to go the same degree of depth and breadth as a regular philosophy major, for instance, or econs major or pol science major. It's a very specific layer of that thing that is relevant to the PPE project that we want you to study. So that's a difference. But otherwise, those components are regular philosophy and pol science and econs modules, where you can't escape that. Okay, so there's a more general question. Econs in university versus econs in pre-university. It's a lot more math intensive. Okay, in a university. So Nelle and Jing can probably testify to that. Econs in university is very mathematical, right? That's something you just need to be aware of, compared to compared to pre-U, which is almost slightly more humans, right, so to speak. Yeah. We are almost out of time already. It's 49. We can probably take one last question. Any good ones that we quickly can answer? Please go to our website, because we do have a fairly extensive FAQ there. And if you can think of new questions that you think is worth asking and answering, just send it to the Telegram group. Make these students work a bit. They will answer one. They're so enthusiastic. And then if they cannot answer, they will definitely shoot it to people like myself and Prof. Luke and Prof. Chia. So don't worry about it. So even if there's something that we didn't answer today, please don't be shy to shoot them to us through the Telegram group or through the email address. Okay. Anyone last? Or maybe I will just go around and parting words. How about that? Yeah, one last round of parting words. Right. So we close it. We'll start with Nelle, then Jing Wei, then Luke and myself. Yeah, Nelle. Yes.
Yes, I think I'm just going to repeat the points I said earlier, that don't stress too much on the essay, because I think I was the first batch to do the direct entry essay. and my question was on a trolley problem, and I've never ever heard on it before. And now I can say this because I'm in the major, but I actually use Wikipedia to look at like the different PPE perspectives. So yeah, guys, just chill. Make sure that your writing is clear and it's like legible. Like we can read it and we can understand it. Don't put too many jargons inside. It's really not necessary. Make sure that it's just presentable. Do proper paragraphing, and most of all, like make sure that when you see like philosophy, politics, and economics as a phrase, you start to get excited and not like, oh my god, I think I hate economics. Yeah. So that one, I think the intersections are really, really important because these are your higher level modules. Yeah. So my final words are that make sure that this is something that you are really interested in before you apply for it. If you are still unclear, you can come and talk to us on the Telegram chats. A lot of our seniors are they'll be very, very willing to help you. And definitely like in PPE, I think because of our smaller size, you'll find a student culture which is really quite nurturing, and you can find many, many good friends here. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. Brings a tear to my eye. Jing, yes, please. Yeah.
Wow, Nelle's speech is too inspiring really, a bit difficult to but I think there are many people who are very worried about the cut-offs, very worried about the interviews, the essays. I think my advice would be just apply. Like really, there is no harm trying. Yep, definitely there's a bit of opportunity cost there. You're like doing an essay, you're doing an interview, but no harm trying, just apply.
Interview, wait. Don't get that wrong impression.
No, the video interview, the personal statement. Yes, like just apply, and really, if you guys have any questions about the processes, just drop a message in the chat. Like you said, Nelle and a whole bunch of us are very willing to help. And at the end of the day, you know that you will be getting into a program that will really be intellectually stimulating and rigorous at the same time. So do be excited about that if you guys want to join. Yeah, that's from me.
Fantastic. Luke.
Yeah, I guess I'd just like to underline that, you know, when we were starting this, we thought it would be popular, and thankfully we've been proved right. It's been a very popular offering. We think it's going from strength to strength. Most of that is down to our students, as you've seen. Yes, Nelle talked about it being competitive. She's right, but it's competitive in a good, supportive way. There's a really great student culture that's grown up in PPE that you'll be coming to, that I think is very important. But whatever you do at NUS, you know, it's important you come and enjoy it. That's what we want most of all. We want you to work hard, but in a going to the gym kind of a way, where you get a good workout and feel good afterwards. We don't want you stressed and miserable by studies. That's not what it's about at all. It's about you know, improving and having fun while you're learning, but it's not meant to be a horrible grind. And on that note, you know, don't worry too much at this point about jobs and careers. Everyone gets a job, you know, don't fret about that. The important thing is to come, whatever you pick, PP, anything else, come enjoy it. If you take your studies seriously, do your work properly, you'll have no problems finding a job at the other end.
Yeah.
So good luck to you.
Yeah, so let me just pick up on that last point, right? If you want to come to study in NUS, even if whether it's PT or otherwise, the fact of the matter is you are getting yourself a university degree. A university degree implies a university education. This is not a vocation training institute, let alone our PPE program. Come to us if this is what keeps you up at night, thinking about these issues and wanting to really be critical about it, to really grapple with them at a highly intellectual way, so that you want to add value to the world in a certain way, right? Yes, of course, you should do all the things that people should be doing to prepare for the day that you will graduate and get jobs and all that. And all these resources are here on campus, right? Internships, mentorship, you know, student culture, networking is all here. But at the end of it, if you are here to get a university degree, you are here to get a university education. Never ever forget that. This is something, it doesn't even matter whether you're doing a technical degree or otherwise. You're getting a university education. It means that at some level, you're putting on your hand to say that the life of the mind, there's that slice of it that I put up my hand for that. Okay, even though I'm going to be a doer in the world as well, I'm going to solve problems in the world, I'm going to add value to this organization, I'm going to make the world better, you know, in all these different ways. But I'm doing it as a university graduate, someone with a university education. Okay, I want to just make sure that everyone is in the right frame of mind as you continue to think about applying to NUS. All right, good to see everyone here. We hope that we have been helpful to you. And yes, once again, any remaining questions that we didn't answer today, we couldn't get to, I'm so sorry about that. But do go ahead and send them into the Telegram chat. People are there ready to answer. Okay, all the best, and thank you for being with us.
Prof, do you want to very quickly answer this admissions question? I think it's quite important. There's a question about whether there is a waiting list, and there's another question about whether you need to put PPE as your first choice for your application essay to be considered.
You don't have to put it in your first choice, but it should be close to the first choice lah. Right? I mean, probably the people you're competing with, they all put it in their first or second choices. I'll just say that first, right? Even though it's not a rule for me. What's the other one again?
Waiting list.
No, there's no such thing as a waiting list. We make an offer. If you take the offer, you have it. We don't bother with like multiple rounds of offers and waiting lists and all that. Yeah. And there is no such thing as aptitude based. So you have to come in direct entry is direct entry. It's not. It's in a sense all aptitude based, but it's the PPE version of aptitude based, right? It's not. The other general version is if you don't meet the cutoff, then we can still consider you for general admission by looking at your interview and all that. That's not how PPE works. It's a direct entry program. Okay. Yeah. Thanks so much, Nelle and Jingwei. You guys are great as usual. Yeah. I actually have a very little bit of time before I have to scoot off. So, are there any other quick questions you really think is worth answering? Yeah, we already answered the econs thing.
I think there is someone that's asking about how it compares to like global studies and political science. I think like political science, that one we more or less answered it, but for global studies,
I'm not sure whether this makes sense. I tend to think of global studies as first and foremost is also a multi or interdisciplinary program like us, right? But the way they think about the way they do it is a bit different from us. Right, ours is definitely a bit more disciplinary focused. We want to make sure you're trained here. That's the way we think about it. Theirs is a lot more sort of like we want to get you embedded in the region. We want you to understand a chosen region of the world well. I don't know, but this could be an outsider's perspective. Luke, you have anything to say?
Yeah, well, I used to be involved with global studies as well at one point. I mean, I think they're sort of organizing it around the theme of globalization, which obviously has multiple aspects. Globalization is a phenomenon that varies regionally. It has an economic dimension, it has a historical dimension, cultural dimension, and so on. But they're building it around the exploration of a theme, and they do want to open up different perspectives on that theme, but there's a kind of a single unity of subject matter to global studies in a way, at least the very broadly the theme of globalization that's supposed to be connecting everything. We are coming at things much more, as you say, I think, from a disciplinary standpoint. Of course, there is overlap because global studies is also focused on contemporary issues, contemporary problems, and has the same, I think, slightly more practitioner-oriented focus that we do. But we are, I think, putting greater weight on mastering three particular disciplinary perspectives that you can bring to addressing these contemporary issues.
Yeah, that's right. But all the majors are good, so yeah, don't fret about this. They are not a direct entry course, so you can just come in as a CHS and you can do the major, just like all the other majors. We are a direct entry course, so you do have to come in through a special process, either direct entry or even in the second year, it will still be a separate special process as well. So that's another difference. So in a sense, we are more selective, right? But that's like neither here nor there. I think it's more important for you to do what you are interested to do. Okay. UK versus NUS, I mean, it's like first and foremost, there's not one thing called UK PPE, right? I did my research on this. There's something called Oxford PPE and everybody else. Okay, yeah. I was saying that conceptually, we are a bit like the kind of PPE programs you will get in non-Oxford international places, both in the US, UK, but also in Australia. Right? We took some inspiration from the programs in places like Arizona, AMU, LSE when we designed this program. But we are playing to our own strengths as well. We are not just copying whatever they have. We are thinking in terms of what the 3 departments we have, what strengths they have, and how we can make use of the strengths we have. So that's the background to it, right? Advantages, disadvantages. I mean, this is a bit tricky because let's put it this way: NUS is now at the level we are a good international university. End of story, right? That's it, right? So we are in that sense, in terms of the educational product, is competitive with some of the best places in the world. Okay, our pros are also from the same places of what you're talking about. Our PhDs are all from these sort of places. But if you want a certain kind of international experience, saying that I have lived 4 years on my own studying in London and all that, we can't give you that, right? Because you're staying here in Singapore. Okay. But if you want that kind of embedded connections here, then of course you go somewhere else, you're not going to get the embedded connections, right? You got to be here. So there are trade-offs everywhere you turn. No matter what you do, there are trade-offs everywhere. Man. We cannot give you everything. Neither can they. Okay, we cannot give you everything that is good in the world. Neither can they. Program-wise, there are subtle differences, but I'm not sure they are talking about them will really help you, because I suspect they are more misleading than anything else, right? I think that you need to think to yourself, number one, am I trying to apply for overseas universities, or do I want to get into NUS? And NUS is, I have to say, is not as easy to get into as people might think compared to say 20 or 50 years ago, right? Do I want an international experience, or do I want to do my university experience here? You will have an international experience even if you come to NUS, right? But you'll be through exchange programs and stuff like that, right? But in terms of the academic part, the quality will be there, right? If you go to a good university in the UK, I expect them to deliver good quality, just as we expect ourselves to deliver good quality. Luke, you came from the UK.
Yes, although I did my PhD in Australia and then went back to work in the UK and then moved to Singapore after that. So I've had a bit of international exposure myself. I like the point you made earlier about doing PPE at Yale NUS versus doing it in CHS, and the way in which the overall environment is going to actually tend to outweigh the differences between those things. And I think that's probably even truer if you go overseas. The kind of time you have is going to be very much determined by the fact you're living in a completely different country, different culture, and so on. That's going to far outweigh whatever differences there are between the programs ultimately. So you should probably take your decision to a significant extent based on whether you really want to spend several years living in a completely different environment.
Yeah, that may be a bigger, that one will swamp all the whatever academic differences. The academic differences are not as big, because someone just asked again, your NUS versus NUS, you must have come in later, because we totally answered that earlier, so you can watch the recording. But the short answer again is exactly as Poppy said, the university experience as a whole completely swamp whatever the program differences are. Right? If you want to go to a small liberal arts college that takes in 250 students a year, you go to your NUS. If you want to join a large research university that takes in 2,100 students just in CHS alone, but with the range of resourcing and the range of professors and all that, there is a whole order of magnitude higher, then of course you have to come to places like NUS, right? So these are trade-offs. Okay, but if you want a bit of a best of both worlds, then one way to do it is sort of the, for instance, you do PPE, and then you join one of the residential colleges. Then of course, the residential colleges is about 200 plus a year, thereabouts, right? So you do have a bit of best of both worlds. If you want the small intimate kind of a community experience, while at the same time having access to the large kind of scale of resources that we have in NUS, right? But there are trade-offs everywhere. So get used to that concept, because no matter where you go, there is no place on earth that can give you all the good things. What you want to know, what you want to figure out is what is it you really want for yourself. Yeah.